We have transitioned from an era of scarcity into an active demand activation. What does that mean? Well, it means we must be intentional in how we use it. We need to activate demand right here at home, in our own communities, while simultaneously expanding our trade with our international neighbors, with India, with Bangladesh, and perhaps one day to markets even further into East Asia, Myanmar to Thailand, who knows? Because the central challenge of our time is that a massive storm of new capacity is hitting our grid. Let me be clear here that I'm not suggesting we stop generating power, not at all. But I'm saying we have to think seriously and we have to think long term about how we manage it, how we cannot rely on the status quo. The NEA must look into innovative power purchase finances. We need fiscal prudence. We need structural discipline. We need innovation in our way of doing business. We need diversity of supplies that addresses our issues of seasonality to intermittency. And we are running out of time to get this right. I just returned from a visit to our western region, and as I spoke with people on the ground, I heard of familiar frustrating consumers' complaints about frequent unscheduled power cuts, unreliability, non-responsiveness, and so on. Hordes of complaints. Now, if we are going to stand here and talk about a surplus, then our grid must reflect that reality. We must do the hard work of strengthening our infrastructure, improving our reliability, and fixing the foundational gaps in our distribution network. Right now, over 90% of our consumers are regular, everyday households. And the truth is, you cannot simply dump thousands of megawatts of monsoon surplus into kitchens and bedrooms alone. It doesn't work that way. We need to expand our demand base. We need the big players. We need to invite heavy industries, data centers, commercial enterprises, and the luxury tourism into the fold. We must expand a consumer base that has the structural capacity to absorb high demand. That is exactly the directive I'm giving to our utilities and our regulators to design the frameworks, create the incentives, and provide the clear direction that will unlock this potential at home. We need to activate that demand here. We need to invite heavy industries, data centers, commercial enterprises, and luxury tourism, and whatever industry that can consume more into the fold. We must expand a consumption base that has the structural capacity to absorb high demand. But how do we do that? Why do businesses still arrange their own backups and not entirely trust the grid, even where they could? We must know that true accountability means providing a supply that is absolutely reliable. When a business looks at our grid, they shouldn't feel the need to buy backup diesel generators out of fear. They should trust the power will be there, so we need to do a lot at home. Ultimately, this is not an either-or proposition. It is not a choice between domestic growth or cross-border trade. We need to do both. We know that domestic demand will not skyrocket overnight, and we know that trade brings a wealth of opportunities to our shores. India might have reached 1,500 units of consumption per capita, but when we look at where Bihar and UP stand, they are still pretty far behind India's average consumption base.